In this section we'll show you how to assemble an electrostatic frictional generator similar to the kind that Franklin would have used. The way it is built, we have a piece of 2x6 fur here as a base. This supports the rest of the material. The prime conductor is made of a foil covered mailing tube about 4 inches in diameter. We'll take that off now. Now we can see the rotor turning here. The rotor is made of a piece of 3-inch diameter PVC pipe, and I've got a few pieces of PVC here that form a handle with a roller on it. Fastened to the sides of the base are pieces of corrugated plastic. Each piece of corrugated plastic has a hole for the rotor cut in it and also supports 2 pencils. The pencils are used to support 2 empty soda cans, one with a piece of fur or cloth on it, the other with a sharp edge cut on it to collect the charge. This can is finally connected to a piece of aluminum foil that comes down to the base. What we'll do now is show you how to manufacture the parts and assemble them. The first thing that you need to do is to cut a piece of 2x6. This can be done at a hardware store or lumber yard. The piece of 2x6 also serves as a convenient working surface. First, the next thing we'll do is to take the piece of corrugated plastic and cut the sides for the generator. The sides are 12 inches tall, which I've already cut, and they're going to be 10 inches wide as I've marked here. This cuts quite easily with a razor knife or with a very good pair of scissors. Once the side is cut, then we need to mark each side for the positions of the rotor holes and the pencil holes. To do that, I have made a template. The template can be set on top, and we can use a sharp pencil to poke through at the pencil hole locations, which are marked on the template. And we can also mark the center of the circle. The easiest way to cut the circle is to use a compass cutter, which can be purchased in a craft store. To do that, I simply set it for the correct radius, set it in the hole that I've marked, and go several times around, first cutting through just a little bit of the layer, then cutting deeper and deeper each time. And finally, I can turn it over, make cuts using the same hole from the other side, until I have cut through all the corrugations. This takes a little time to do and should be done carefully. Finally, I pop out the centerpiece, and I am left with pieces like this with the hole cut out from them. Now we have to make the pencil holes. To do that, you can use a pencil or a pen to poke through, or you can drill them out with a small electric drill. Once I've got the holes in the pieces of the sides, then I'm ready to mount the sides on the board. I'm going to mount, in this version, them on the ends of the boards. To do that, I'm going to use drywall screw. To make sure that it doesn't go all the way through, I simply put a small washer on the screw, and then they can be screwed in by hand using a screwdriver. In the interests of time, I will assemble the rest using a variable speed electric drill with a screwdriver bit. Once the sides are mounted, then we can put the pencils in, insert a pencil into the hole, shove it almost all the way through to the other side, and then you have to put on the rubber bands. We're going to use 2 rubber bands that go on the vertically mounted pencils. Once the rubber bands are on, then we can put them through the holes on the other side, shoving them through until just the metal ferrule sticks out. Now I'll put the pencils that are mounted diagonally in place, again pushing them almost all the way through. These get a total of 4 rubber bands, and slide them through with the rubber bands in place. At this point we've assembled the base. Now we're ready to prepare the cans. We need to mount 2 cans. One of the cans has a piece of craft fur mounted on the side. I cut a piece a little less wide than the can, wrapping about halfway around. I can use a half-wide piece of duct tape to fasten that to the can. The second can gets a slot cut in the side. I'm going to cut a tab at this end, about the same distance up from the bottom of the can, another tab, and then cutting down along the side of the can and carefully peeling it back. I have a sharp flap that will serve as the collector. To mount the cans, the rubber can gets mounted so that it pushes against one doubled rubber band and the other one holds it in place, and the same on its other end, pushing against one rubber band, the other doubled rubber band pushing it into place. Those serve to push it against where the rotor will go. This can now gets supported between the other 2 rubber bands on the vertically mounted pencils. Each rubber band simply looping around the can to hold it in place so that its lower edge is near the rotor. Here's the rotor. The rotor is cut from a piece of 3-inch PVC pipe. I cut it using a hacksaw. It's about 10 inches long. Then I've taken a piece of 1/2-inch CPVC pipe, taped it with duct tape to the rotor, and drilled some holes in it. The easy way to cut the 1/2-inch pipe is to use a PVC cutter if you have one, but you can also cut it using a hacksaw with a reasonably fine set of teeth. The PVC cutter cuts it quite easily. I drilled holes in the handle of the CPVC, and I can fasten those in place using some bolts. A nut and a washer on the inside. I've also cut a piece of 3/4-inch CPVC, which goes on this to serve as a roller. And now I place a 1/2-inch fitting on the end to hold everything in place to get the finished rotor. Now we're ready to put the rotor in place. The ground plane is simple. I take a piece of heavy-duty aluminum foil and simply fold it approximately in thirds and smooth it down. If I need a longer piece, I can just add to it and tuck the end into the hole in the can that has the flap on it. So to the can that has the flap cut in it, hooks into the hole where the flap is and sits down on the base, and is something that you can use to put your hand on while you crank and to act as a ground plane. we now need to assemble the prime conductor. The support for the prime conductor could be made from the corrugated plastic. Here I am making it from a piece of pink styrofoam. To do that, I need to cut a and pop it loose. This could be screwed on with long screws, but it can also be simply mounted with a piece of duct tape wrapped around it, as I will do here. The only thing that remains now is to cover the prime conductor with aluminum foil. This is fairly simply done. Use a wide piece of heavy-duty aluminum foil, wrap it smoothly around the prime conductor, around the until you get it covered. You can use a glue stick or tape to hold it on, and so you end up with a smoothly coated large metal surface. The prime conductor then sits in contact with the fur-covered can and is held in place by rubber bands which loop over the pencils that hold that can. And now the generator is complete and ready to go. This is the generator of the kind that Franklin would have been using. I'm going to crank the generator and charge it up. And after charging it for a while, I can bring my finger near the prime conductor where we're storing a lot of charge, and we should be able to see a good spark. Here we go. And now we'll use this to charge up the Leyden jar. To do that, I'll first crank it for a little bit. Then I'm going to go and holding the outside of the Leyden jar in one hand, I'll touch the straw to the prime conductor, and I'll continue to crank the generator for a while. And that will charge the jar by the hook, as Franklin would say, since the hook is connected to the prime conductor. We can see how much it's charged by taking a wire, connecting it to the outside, and then touching it to the straw. Ready? We get a nice spark there. We can also charge the film can Leyden jar. I'm going to charge that by the hook. To do that, I crank the generator, and holding the Leyden jar by the hook, I touch the coating to the prime conductor. And now I'll check for a charge there, and I just got it.